What is the secret in my field that we all know and the general public doesn't? I got one. The secret that all Christian theologians know and the public doesn't know is that clergy doesn't believe what they preach. And I don't mean that in a conspiracy theory way, like they're all secret atheists that are just doing it for the money. What I do mean is that the way they talk to their congregation and the way that same person will present papers in an academic context or the way that they talk to each other is two different worlds. There's a concept that we're taught and we're very familiar with called don't scare the sheep. And it's essentially that we censor ourselves to the public, even though we know it's much more complex. And we talk about that either in academic spaces or with each other. So we know this even from studies from sociologist Nancy Ammerman, that pastors will self-censor frequently, especially around issues of doubt, sexuality, and biblical accuracy in order to keep the congregation coming to church. Peter Enns literally was fired from Westminster Theological Seminary for saying the quiet part out loud because he's noticing in all these academic spaces where we're all getting trained to do this, we all know that the Gospels are written anonymously or that the letters from Paul were not really written by Paul. We have some sense of biblical scholarship here, but then when it gets to time to talk on the pulpit, nobody says this. And so when you're trained as a pastor, you are literally trained in how to balance comforting the sheep, which is pastoral, and challenging the system, which is prophetic. So if you train to become a pastor, you are literally taught how to mask your own personal beliefs and also real scholarship. You are taught how to do this. It's very common for pastors to hear things like you need to balance comforting the sheep, which is pastoral, with challenging the system, which is prophetic. And so you actually need to, even though you know all this stuff, you need to gauge how this is going to land with your congregation, and you need to water it down and you need to soften it. There's even groups like the Clergy Project, which is trying to help pastors essentially hold this kind of cognitive dissonance where they know that what they're saying on the pulpit is wrong, but yet this is their job and they actually do want to help people. So the common knowledge in my field that is a secret to everyone else is that your Christian pastor does not believe what he's saying in the pulpit. He's watering it down for you.
And they also will gaslight you too by saying, did you talk to God about this? I'm talking to you, a mere human. You think I didn't consult with an all-knowing being? I find that to be just ignorant. And so when I gave them a perplexed look, I believe they interpreted that as, oh, I see you didn't, when I'm just really thinking this is a dummy. There was literally a lady in Dallas. She wrote a book that was endorsed by Tony Evans, and Caucasian lady. And she said a demonic person, possessed person approached her, and she said they told her they were going to get her. And that scared this lady for years, who had been leading conferences of over 20,000 people, and they get paid a good more than 5,000 to show up, period. And me and a person who I'm no longer acquainted with got into a little tissy about that because she said I would have been scared too. I said, you don't lead that hundreds of thousands of people and tell them about God. Because the thing is, you all follow people who don't even have the recipe for what they're trying to sell you. If the recipe is free, you don't want it because you don't think it's real, because you've been duped and hoodwinked and had wolves in sheep's clothing this entire time. So I get it now. And even though my father is a whole narcissist, whatever, he was straight up told me, you're getting pimped by this. Stop sending your money to these people. I raised you better than that. And he didn't give money to the churches, nor did my grandfather. Nobody set me down to say this is where the money goes, and I didn't know until I worked in finance. And that's why when these people were trying to charge me, and I've done finances every Sunday to count what's at each church and know, and I knew it's only so far we can go with this. So for me, I'm more like, I'm gonna need my money plus interest because I know you invested it. That's 30K. It's so unfortunate how we operate, but that is the way that it's been accepted. And even if people say, oh, I don't like it, it doesn't matter, because me saying it, even with my little following that I have on the Clock app, it doesn't matter.